What is going on, everybody? It's the Frost, and we're here for our AEW Rampage and Smackdown double review for January the 28th, 2022. The Royal Rumble is tomorrow, and tonight was also the second half of Beach Break in Cleveland during a foot, 7 feet of snow. Which, I don't understand how Tony Khan decided, we're going to book Cleveland in January, and we're going to make that our Beach Break. Miami, fine. Somewhere at the end of California, fine. Maybe even Myrtle Beach area, but not Cleveland. Not in this weather. But anyway, we had Jon Moxley versus Anthony Bowens. We had a wasteful TBS title match, which we're not going to talk about because it was a waste of time. And we also had FTR taking on Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson, which was supposed to happen last Wednesday, but due to medical protocol, it did not happen till tonight. And in the main event, the tag team titles were on the line as the Jurassic Express take on Private Party. Also, we had a bunch of stuff happening on SmackDown. Nayomi finally got her match with Sonia Deville. Roman and Seth come face to face one night before their match. And a lot more. Not really, but still. So we start the show off. We're going to talk about Rampage because we got to get into Royal Rumble predictions, and we're going to do that after the SmackDown review, which is absolutely fine. Jon Moxley versus Anthony Bowens. Caster comes down. He raps to Jon Moxley, talking about how his wife hasn't called him back yet, and he finished it off with the mat work said, "Shut your mouth." Now, Bowens does his usual. They claimed had arrived. He got up on the apron, on the turnbuckle to, do his pose and everything, and Jon Moxley literally beat the shit out of Max Caster and sent him out of the ring and went right into Anthony Bowens. Now you would figure that this is just going to be an easy squash. Jon Moxley's going to go out there and just beat up Bowens and get the win, but no, that's not exactly what happened. They actually gave a lot to Bowens. They did fight on the outside because you're not having a Jon Moxley match without him wrestling on the outside or fighting somewhere in the crowd. He did it. I believe he did it last week with Ethan Page, and he did it here tonight as well. But of course, you knew he wasn't going to lose this match. Jon Moxley's not losing right now because they have bigger plans for him at Revolution. We'll talk about that here in a second. Moxley is on his knees but encourages Bowens to bring it. Bowens puts Moxley down with some forearm strikes. Caster distracts the ref as Bowens grabs the boombox. Edwards catches him. But Bowens gets a chain from Caster and goes to hit Moxley. Moxley avoids it and hits the cutter. Follows up with the Death Rider and gets the pin and the win. And Jon Moxley 2-0 in 2022, and since he made his return back from rehab. Moxley looked good. Bowens looked good. They gave Bowens a lot, and Moxley was coming out with his arm, favoring his left arm because of how much damage Bowens did on him. Now, as I said, after the match, they cut to backstage, and you see one Bryan Danielson watching on the monitor, or on the big flat screen TV, the way a human would watch, instead of, having to creak his eyes to look. Yeah, he was watching. He turns to the camera, and he just has this smile. Like, he wants something, and he's going to be taking on Jon Moxley at Revolution. When do we see these two interact and have the challenge laid down? I do not know. But all I know is saying, take our money, Tony Khan. That is a match everybody's going to want to see. Next week on Wednesday night, Ruby Soho versus Nyla Rose. Who gives a shit? That match doesn't mean shit. Backstage, Andrade El Idolo has located Darby Allin. Andrade hands him a contract. Darby Allin laughs at him and says he respects Andrade as a wrestler, but wonders if Andrade has lost his mind. He says his dignity is not worth something that Andrade can buy. He tells him to get out of the locker room and pulls out a baseball bat to reinforce his point. Andrade does get the idea, and he does leave. So there's still... I don't know where this is going, and honestly, I've been watching Andrade since his days in NXT, when he was the Chippendale dancer, and nobody knew what the fuck to do with him, it seemed like, and then somehow Triple H knew what to do with the guy. Got this guy, Selena Vega, as his manager, and just the best part of his entire career on TV was those months as the NXT champion, and the few months leading up before he won the NXT championship. And honestly, he's here now. he's associated with the Hardy family office, which makes no fucking sense. And it's just like this. Is Triple H the only person in the United States who knew what to do with Andrade? Because he's just here, and it's like they don't even know what to do with him. Tony doesn't know what to do with this guy. Just get him in the ring and have him go out there and give you match of the year candidates. How about that? I just don't know what the fuck they're doing with Andrade. It's like you sit here, and everybody who saw him come in with the debut of him having Vicky come out and be like, Andrade El Idolo in the worst way possible, didn't help matters either. And it's just, I don't care for this shit. I just don't. Andrade is definitely one of those miscast, misused guys that if Triple H was going to leave WWE and run his own promotion, I could see Andrade leaving AEW and going work for Triple H because Triple H knew how to fucking book this guy. No one else seems to get it. Nobody else seems to get how to book this man, and it's kind of sad. Tully Blanchard brings FTR to the ring as they take on Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson. As I mentioned before, this match was supposed to happen 2 Wednesdays ago. But then, of course, as you know, it had to be Lee or Brock, or somebody on that side, I guess, because FTR was doing some indie work or something. But all I know is somebody, they didn't say who, they didn't really tell us on TV. And here we are with Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson versus FTR. It was a good match. I mean, FTR are just two of the best tag team wrestlers out there. And of course, Lee Johnson and Brock Anderson, they got a long way to go. They really do. They're going to get there eventually. Just, they got ways to go. The match was pretty good. Lee Johnson and them do not win this match as Johnson grabs Wheeler, but Wheeler makes a blind tag to Harwood. FTR quickly hits a spike power driver on Johnson to get the pin and the win, and leaving this boy legging. So, yeah, that is all you need to know about that. Lee Johnson and FTR wins. I could see Brock Anderson and Lee Johnson, if they keep them as a tag team, in about a year or two, being in a way much better place than they are right now. They got to improve. They're going to improve, obviously. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with these guys. Yeah, I'm going to say this right now. Tony Khan, I don't know what you think you're doing. Jade Cargill is not Goldberg. Now they're putting up her records on the graphic. 26-0. Next time will be 27-0. This is not 1997, 1998. This is not someone coming out that people fucking believe. Do you know how much people hate Goldberg now because of how much they booked him like that back in the 90s? She's not going to get over like this. She's not going to get better because she knows she doesn't have to. The match was trash. She's trash. Get that title off of her ASAP. You had an easy way out of getting her out of the TBS title tournament instead of giving her the title, which was the dumbest mistake you could have done. When Thunder Rosa was beating her knee up, you have smart Mark Sterling throw the towel in. She loses, but she doesn't get pinned or submitted, but you're too fucking dumb and retarded not to do that. Tony Khan, every single week, shows how retarded he is when it comes to the women's division, and it's fucking pathetic. The women's division is never going to be as good as it could be. They could have the greatest women's division on this fucking planet. And yet Tony Khan's ineptitude on how to book women's wrestling continues to show through each and every week. She's not Goldberg. She's never going to be anywhere close to Goldberg. Asuka, when she had her 500-day title reign, or 500-day winning streak, even though they, for whatever fucking reason, didn't decide to give her a how many matches she won and 0, they decided to just say 500 days, 400 days, whatever. This is not even close. Asuka could wrestle. This bitch cannot, and she's never going to get better. Because you gave her that championship way too fucking early, and it's just basically as soon as she loses that title, she goes back down to irrelevancy where she belongs because she's not ready for anything. Main event time here, Matt Hardy It brings Private Party to the ring as they take on the Jurassic Express. Before the match, of course, Mark Henry gets to have his interview time and do his now it's time for the main event thing, which that's always pretty cool. They do have a t-shirt for him. But next week on Wednesday, it is Malachi Black and Brody King versus Pac and Penta El Miedo. Ruby versus Nyla, don't give a shit. CM Punk versus MJF in Chicago. I've seen a lot of debate lately of should CM Punk lose in Chicago? Should this should be like MJF wins here and then MJF goes to Revolution for the championship? No. This is a pay-per-view match. It's going to happen on Wednesday. It needs to happen on Wednesday. CM Punk loses by fuckery and then loses clean at the pay-per-view. It won't fucking hurt CM Punk to take 2 L's to MJF. Did it hurt Chris Jericho to take 3 L's to fucking MJF before he finally got a win? No. So it's not going to hurt. And it's not going to hurt CM Punk to lose to MJF twice. This is not a one-match feud. Not even close. Then next Friday, the FTW title will be on the line as Ricky Starks takes on Jay Lethal. And Thunder Rosa takes on Mercedes Martinez. Again, I wish I could care, but I just don't. Like I said, main event time, Jurassic Express versus Private Party. Colton and Austin Gunn are sitting at ringside. They're distracting the Jurassic Express so Private Party can get a cheap shot on Jungle Boy to start the match. And then the Private Party then take out Luchasaurus, so they have the upper hand to start out. By the way, have you seen Danhausen's video for Billy Ass and the Ass Boys? Like, my God. We see what Danhausen's going to be doing in AEW, just feuding with the Gun Club on Dark for the majority of his career, his time probably. So, as you say, the Private Party, they do maintain control over Jungle Boy. Isaiah gets the tag in and goes for both the top rope. Jungle Boy moves and Quinn and Cassidy both miss the splash and leg drop combination, the old Hardy Boys finish. So, Jungle Boy escapes, tags in Luchasaurus. Private Party rolls on the outside to cut off the rally. Luchasaurus heads outside and after them, but Hardy hits Luchasaurus in the leg with the chair, and we go to picture-in-picture. These guys are, of course, on top of it all. The Private Party is. Back from break, and Private Party is in control of Luchasaurus, but we're shown Andrade El Idolo is now from watching the crowd with his assistant. To remind us that it is now the AHFO, which fuck that shit. Luchasaurus tries to drag Private Party across the ring so they can make the tag. Private Party finally overpowers him. Jungle Boy runs wild after he does get a tag, sending Quinn and Cassidy to the outside. He follows with a series of dives to the outside. So we get to the end of the match. Jungle Boy catches Cassidy in the snare trap, but Quinn lands a shooting star press on top rope, from the top rope to break up the hold, which was beautiful. Quinn puts Jungle Boy on the top rope. Private goes for the gin and juice, but Jungle Boy reverses into a destroyer. He tags in Luchasaurus. They finish off Private Party 1, 2, 3 with the Jurassic, whatever the double finish, in like the suplex into the powerbomb. Finisher is called for the 1, 2, 3. They retain the tag team championships when all of a sudden, Billy Gunn and the Ash Boys, the Gun Club, attack. They lay both champions out with the titles, hold both championships as they stand tall. That is going to be your next title match. It's just a stopgap to whoever's going to be challenging the Jurassic Express at the pay-per-view. Could it be the Lucha Bros get their titles back then? I don't know. I don't know when Phoenix is going to be cleared. But that is the next match for the Jurassic Express. Rampage, not a bad show. Just get that title off of that bitch because she doesn't deserve it. I'm sorry. Any company that puts a championship on somebody less than 1 year in the business and that's not a developmental company, developmental system, absolutely is mentally fucking ill. Absolutely. Whoever's booked that decision and thought that was a good idea is mentally fucking ill. Basically, what this is going to lead to is when Thunder Rosa wins the AEW World Championship at Revolution, which it should be, when we get to Full Gear, Jay's going to be undefeated, and she's going to beat Thunder Rosa to be double champion. She'll have to relinquish the TBS title because you shouldn't be double champion anyway. And she'll be 100 and something, like 70 something and 0, and It's just like, that's fucking pathetic. That's where this is going. She's not going to lose a match in 2022, and by the end of the year, they're going to put the title on her, and it's going to be worse than it is now. And it's already in a bad position as it is with who the champion is. Moving over to SmackDown here. We have the Royal Rumble tomorrow night. They gave us on the menu for everything that was going to happen tonight, which, by the way, news coming into SmackDown is that after winning the WWE Championship and then losing it earlier this month, being on Raw for about a 5-month window, Big E is back on the blue brand. So Big E's singles push that started last year, his singles run where he was on his own when the New Day was drafted to Raw last October when they did last year's draft in 2020, when they did the 2020 draft, yeah, it's dead. Big E is no longer a single star. It's back to being a tag team with the New Day. Honestly, Big E's singles run peaked at winning the WWE Championship. They blew the load too early because they were desperate for ratings. They were in a rating slump. They needed something. They told you hours beforehand that Big E was going to win the WWE Championship. So what did they fucking do? They had Big E cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase instead of building it up and building it up and building it up. Bobby Lashley should have never lost the WWE title. He wins, we'll talk about it. If he wins tomorrow night, it'll just prove again that he should have never lost the WWE Championship, and it should have been Big E versus Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania and have Big E win the championship there. But no, they got cold feet. They blew their load and gave Big E a WWE Championship reign that was absolutely worse. And here's the sad part. His title reign was shorter and worse than Kofi Kingston's. And that's saying a lot. Kofi didn't have the best title reign either, but at least he had a longer title reign. He had from WrestleMania all the way to October, which is over half a year, I'm pretty sure, about half a year. More over half a year. And he had more than the same feud where he had matches with Joe. He had matches with Randy Orton. He had much more exciting matches, much more matches that seemed to fucking matter. Big E just did not have a single title match that mattered. And then when it was supposed to be him and Seth 1-on-1, they made it into a 4-way, and then because of COVID, they made it a 5-way. And yes, he was going to retain, and wonder where he would be now if they did that, if it wasn't for COVID getting to Roman Reigns. But there you go. Big E is back on SmackDown. So we started the show with the Showbot 9000, as you do. She comes out, she talks for a bit. Out comes Shayna Baszler with new music because nobody in WWE is allowed to have iconic music anymore. Why do I say iconic music? Because Shayna Baszler, we've had Shayna Baszler, Ricochet, Damian Priest, the Viking Raiders, all within the last 4 months get their music changed. When I mean like iconic music, I mean like Kurt Angle. When he comes back, if you're playing his, you'll play his theme like that's Kurt Angle. You don't even have to see the graphic that says Kurt Angle. As soon as that music plays, you say that's Kurt Angle. He's coming. It's got to be Kurt Angle. Same thing with Bret Hart. Same thing with Shawn Michaels. Same thing with Stone Cold, The Rock, Triple H, John Cena, The Undertaker, Goldberg. It's like, why are we having guys, men and women, going out here and getting new music? Oh yeah, Liv Morgan, someone else who got their music changed. Damian Priest's music was fantastic for him. Shayna Baszler's was great for her too. You would know when you come to, say Shayna Baszler left WWE and came back for a Royal Rumble. Shayna Baszler was released this year, 2022, and came back in 2023 or 2024, and she came back to her music that she doesn't have anymore. You'd be like, oh my god, it's Shayna Baszler. She comes out to this shit now? Wait a minute, who the fuck is that? What music is that? This is the trend of generic music. Charlotte will keep her music because it's Charlotte 9000. They're not going to take her music away. It's too much her. But that'd be like Stone Cold Steve Austin coming to the ring to some just generic music after the Glass Shadow music was just taken away from him for no fucking reason. Same thing as like after years of If You Smell What the Rock is Cooking playing, And then The Rock just comes out to some lame-ass cheap music because WWE just doesn't give a shit anymore. Like, that's just like having Triple H come out to Motorhead for years. And then the next time he shows up, he comes out to some generic off-brand version of Metallica. Why are we changing people's music? People, like, I know music is not the be-all, end-all for a talent, but it is a part of the talent's identity when they come to the ring. You hear the glass shatter. As soon as you hear the glass shatter, like, you know, Stone Cold's are coming. Holy shit. Just, like, any time Stone Cold comes out, you hear the glass shatter, just look at the crowd and how they just light up, knowing, oh my God, Stone Cold is here. Why are we taking that? Why are we taking that type of away? This is the problem that WWE's having. They don't want to build anybody. Vince McMahon knows for like The Rock. A lot of this goes back to The Rock. It does. The Rock, like Stone Cold left because he was injured. He couldn't wrestle anymore. There was nothing he could do. But like The Rock became super big, so big that he went off to Hollywood, and now John Cena's off at Hollywood. And Roman Reigns will be the next one to do that. Vince McMahon doesn't want anybody to leave until he's had usefulness for them is up. Why do you think The Undertaker kept getting drug out year after year after year? If The Undertaker wanted to do MMA back in the early 90s or the early 2000s, he would have went and done that over doing wrestling. But it wasn't what it is today. Just WWE, Vince McMahon's finding different ways to take everybody who has an identity and take it away from them. Shayna Baszler, we haven't seen in weeks, comes back to some generic music that just feels like that you found on YouTube that was under the non-copyrighted sounds or musics and just said, I'm going to take this and use that. Why are we taking this shit away from them? It just doesn't make any sense. It just hurts everybody. That would be like Charlotte coming out from like a remix of her father's music, which she's been doing since 2014, and then the next week coming out to something that sounds nothing like that. It's like when it's the thing. It's like Charlotte's in the ring talking, and then this music plays, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? Whose music is this? And then it's Shayna Baszler. I'm like, wait a minute, what the fuck? Why? Had they started playing Shayna's original music, I'd be like, oh, fuck, here comes Shayna Baszler. Where the hell has she been? But I know I'm not the only one who's like, this music plays, and it's like, who the fuck is this? I never heard this music before. Who's this? Could have been a debut. Who knows? But no. That's like, Naomi has her music, the glow music she has right now. Well, if it wasn't for the fact that she's married to one of the Usos, this is probably going to happen. But like Naomi comes out to her glow music, and then the very next week comes out to something that's generic pop, and doesn't have that same feel to it like Naomi's music does. So you're sitting there like, whose music is this? Oh, it's Naomi? She's got new music? Why? It just doesn't make any sense why they continue to do this. It hurts the talent. Like I said, like Rock comes out with his music, everyone he fucking cheers. When John Cena came back at Money in the Bank and that music hit, the place went ballistic. What if that instead of that music, you had some generic hip hop music start playing, and then the name John Cena came up? The action would be there, but it probably wouldn't be as loud because it'd be like, what the hell? What happened to Cena's music? What happened to his song? You know, the song that he created in 2005, his own theme? Yeah, it just doesn't make any sense. I know Roman got new music because he needed to get away from the Shield music. Still a little iffy on that. I think it could be different, but I'm fine with it. But, like, 9 times out of 10, this shit is just fucking terrible. And again, it is what it is. So Baszler comes out, they talk for a bit, out comes Aaliyah, who's wearing an Aaliyah 317. Doesn't have the same impact as Austin 316, so can we please come up with something more creative? She talks for a bit, and then she brings up the fact that she has the world record for fastest match at 3.17 seconds. Woo. Out comes Natalya. She has words from Aaliyah. Then out comes Sasha Banks. Now, I was under the impression, I'm sure many were under the impression, that Sasha Banks was going to miss the Royal Rumble. I'm pretty sure WWE put it out that Sasha Banks was going to miss the Royal Rumble due to a leg injury that she suffered at the beginning of the year. But here she comes down, does a little dance that she does on the stage, walks to the ring, cuts in the ring and says, "The boss is back, and I'm ready to rumble." Then she slaps, show about 9,000, gets on the apron while everybody else brawls in the middle of the ring. And then after everyone gets taken down and Showbot is left, she gets back in the ring, and they have words. And then she takes her out. So looks like Sasha Banks is in the Royal Rumble. That is good. The Royal Rumble for the women's is absolutely in trouble. They had to bring Mickie James back. They had to bring back Melina, who's supposed to be there. Ariana, a.k.a. Cameron, is supposed to be there. They brought back Oksana. You're joking, right, Vince? Johnny, you're joking. Oksana? This is what you think of wrestling. This is what you think of women's wrestling. Oksana. Wow. If she shows up at the Rumble, that would be one of the worst waste of a slot I have ever seen. We haven't seen Oksana in 8 years. When she was the only big thing that Oksana ever did was pretend to be the love interest of Theodore Long, introduce us to Antonio Cesaro, and then dump Teddy Long for Cesaro. The only other thing that she did on TV was the wedding that they had with her and I don't know who else on the original NXT in 2012. Other than that, she didn't do shit. And then she was gone. And now she's supposed to be here for the Rumble. You're joking, right? Seriously, you're joking. You're joking. No, you're joking, right? And then, of course, there's the rumor of Ronda Rousey. And the fact that Ronda Rousey is in the Rumble. And she is the odds-on favorite to win the Women's Royal Rumble. We'll talk about that after this review. Jim and Rich Holland are backstage with Megan Morant. She asks about facing Cesaro and Ricochet tonight. Holland says he can still hear the crunching of his bones of his nose back at day one. And now it's turned to return the favor and smash Ricochet's face. Like the parasite he is, Sheamus gets hyped up over Rollins and says he fights like me. He's going to celebrate like me when I win the Royal Rumble, which Rich Holland really didn't seem too kind on that one. He really made it look, he really looked like, yeah, Chief, I want to win the Rumble too. And he gives him a present, and it's the face mask. It's a face mask for him to wear because of his nose being broken at the beginning of the year. I don't think he should have that much of a problem, should he? Rich Holland and Sheamus versus Ricochet and Cesaro. This match went a lot better than it did at day one, so we can always say that one. And, of course, the face mask did come into play. Cesaro blocks a bro kick, doesn't see Holland tag in. Cesaro readies Sheamus for a swing, but illegal. Hogan runs in, drops him with a headbutt using the mask. Holland then drops Cesaro with a Northern Grit in the middle of the ring for the pin and the win. And Sheamus and Rich Holland win. Now, when we go back to that match of day one, yes, that was always going to be the outcome, was that Rich Holland and Sheamus were going to win. WWE doesn't want to push Ricochet. So the fact that you had Sheamus beat both men was kind of bad for the look of everything, but here you are, Rich Holland gets his revenge. And they do show Cesaro holding onto his nose. Cole says he might have suffered a broken nose on his own. I don't think so, just probably selling it. Sonya Deville versus Nayomi. Now, this match has been a long time coming. This match should have happened at day one. This match needs to be a one done and get it over with. Now, before the match happened, Naomi's in the ring. Sonya Deville is backstage with the referee. Is like, you know what, ref? I'm your boss. I am your boss. And when I put her shoulders to the mat, you're going to... And she's trying to tell him that you're going to count as fast as you can, and I'm going to get an easy win. He looks at her and is like, listen, Sonya, I'm calling this right down the middle. And he walks away, and she looks offended. So we get to the ring for Sonya Deville versus Naomi, and immediately, of course, Sonya Deville is not happy with the fact that she has to wrestle this match and have a referee call it right down the middle because she is a conniving bitch. But she spends the majority of the first part of the match just hiding on the outside, hiding between the ropes, just trying to keep Naomi away from her. This match was fucking great, though. After we got back from commercial break, the beginning of the match, before they went to commercial break, it was just Sonya trying to play keep away, and Naomi getting frustrated. But when we got back from the match, from the commercial, this was fucking great. These two women went out there and gave us the best women's match on TV since WrestleMania last year. When we had, it was the best match we've had for the women on SmackDown or Raw since Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks. I'm gonna say that right now. Nothing that Liv and Becky did was this good. Nothing Charlotte and whoever the fuck she faced was this good. Nothing Bianca and Becky did was this good. This was great for a women's match. This match felt like it should have been a title match in and of itself. Get that title off of Charlotte, get it onto Naomi, and then have these two go at it again when there's a title on the line. Sonya Deville tried to win. She had her up for a suplex, and then I can't remember what this is fucking called, but swung her forward, and then flatlined her or something. I don't know what they fucking call it. Gets a 2 count, a close 2 count, but a 2 count. Naomi hits the rear view. I hate that fucking move. It's so stupid. Hey, watch me hit you with your ass, and I'll pin you. But she doesn't win that way as she goes immediately up the top. It's the split-legged moonsault, RVD style, 1, 2, 3, and she picks up the win. After the match, her music hits, she stands tall, celebrates, the referee raises her hand, but quickly retreats as he doesn't want any repercussions, even though he was doing his job and there's nothing she should really do. Deville recovers quickly, marches up the ramp without stopping. Naomi continues the celebration while the fans cheer, and Naomi takes the mic and tells the fans, "We finally did it!" After 135 days of Naomi Deville tormenting her, it still wasn't enough to stop the glow. Deville is watching from the entranceway. Naomi says somehow she still managed to shine through, just like she did when she will win the Royal Rumble tomorrow. Naomi taunts Deville and tells her not to slip on her tears on the way out. Goodbye. Music starts back up, but Deville says, "Turn that music off." And she has her jacket on, so she's got to be the boss now. And she's like, "Listen. Is it all going to be, you think it's all going to be fun and games tomorrow at the Royal Rumble, huh? Well, I can't let you go to the Royal Rumble without a surprise. A special guest entrant." Sonya Deville drops the mic. Of course she's going to be in the match. I would start them at number 1 and 2. Plain and simple. Give this crowd the first few minutes of intrigue between these two. Sonya Deville, Naomi are number 1 and number 2. No Sonya Deville number 30, no Naomi number 1. No, they got to be number 1 and number 2. Plain and simple. Especially if you're not going to have Sonya Deville or Naomi win the match, get these two to be the first two to start. Plain and simple. Kayla Braxton is backstage SmackDown Tag Team Champions the Uso. They weren't worried about being banned from ringside during Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, because no matter what, one thing will remain the same, and still Universal Champion Roman Reigns. In come the Viking Raiders, who show off their axes and say that they can shave a beard, they could cut a finger, or chop a title in half, and one clinks it off the title, and the Usos leave. I'm skipping the insane shit. I don't fucking care. Apparently, Jackass is popular in Shanky's homeland, so who gives a shit? Out comes Nakamura and Boogs, and then we get... Okay, it was a tag team match. I thought so. Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs versus Jinder Mahal and Shanky, of course. Nakamura versus... Do they even remember that Sami Zayn is the Intercontinental Champion, #1 contender? Did they forget about that? Is that title match never going to happen? He won a #1 contenders gauntlet match for the title. Yes, I understand. Shinsuke Nakamura had been injured with a hand injury. But now he's wrestling again. Put the match on and get it over with. This match didn't last very long. Jinder Mahal and Shanky lose. Moving on. Taylor Braxton was backstage with the New Day's Biggie and Kofi Kingston. They riled up to talk about when one of the new member wins the Royal Rumble. They all win. They go on an energetic promo, and they head out as they take on the Happy Bunch of Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. Talk about a match I couldn't give a shit about. Obviously, Midnight Hour got hit. 1, 2, 3. And yes, Biggie is back on SmackDown, as I said earlier. Get a Royal Rumble promo, and out comes Roman Reigns, and the Hall of Fame for Kane. Yeah, Hall of Famer Kane for stalking Smack. I forgot Kane was already in the Hall of Fame. Was he? Yeah. Last year, 2 years ago. We go back to ring. Reigns raises the Universal title in the air, and the power goes off before Reigns can speak or do anything. Seth Rollins' music hits. Out he comes. He enters the ring when Reigns stares him down. Fans are hot as they meet in the middle of the ring. Reigns takes a bite, and Rollins plays the crowd. Rollins then calls for Candace to acknowledge him. Most of them do, but we do get some boos. Rollins taunts Reigns and acknowledges he played Reigns like a fiddle last week. He congratulated Reigns on getting his cousin disqualified last week, making the Royal Rumble bout one-on-one. Reigns says it was a decision. Sit around and let Rollins embarrass his family, the bloodline, or punch Rollins in the face and get the same result. Rollins says Reigns brought more shame to his family than anybody if he get pinned by him means embarrassment. Reigns says he said that this last week, but again, Rollins is living in the past because Reigns is in God mode. Rollins touts on some of the moments from the past, and Rollins says it was all one on the bridge. Rollins asks, what about when he took a steel chair to Reigns' back and changed the game forever, meaning when he broke up the Shield, of course. Reigns gets a big angry now, which, yeah, just starting to just screw that in there. Rollins keeps taunting him. Rollins says there's that one stings a little bit. He knew what he was doing when he used the chair on Reigns. It was for his own good. He knew it would catapult Reigns into stardom. Rollins says Reigns should thank him for all the money, the private jets, and everything else he received since then. Rollins says Reigns has done it all except one thing: beat Rollins when it matters the most. He wants Reigns to know it's not personal when it takes the title tomorrow. My brother, I will always love you. Rollins laughs at Reigns now and as Reigns sees. Rollins continues to taunt him, Reigns, who is silent now. Rollins laughs some more and dances around the ring. Reigns mentions how Rollins used the chair on his back to break up the Shield. Reigns has tried to forgive Rollins. He really has, but he will never forgive Rollins for what he did to us. He hates Rollins. Rollins laughed and says he knows Reigns hates him. Rollins says Reigns called him a clown, but the joke is Reigns, his title reign, the bloodline, his cousins, his whole family, his daddy and uncle, and tomorrow night, it all goes up in smoke. Rollins laughs and Reigns shoves him. Reigns is furious now. Rollins taunts him, laughs some more in the middle of the ring. Reigns walks past the exit of the ring, but they bump shoulders on purpose. Reigns immediately turns back and tries to connect with the Superman punch, but Rollins ducks and rolls out of the ring. Rollins' music hits as he dances in the entranceway now, taunting Reigns and laughing. Reigns sees in the ring as the Royal Rumble Go Home show goes off the air. Really good between these two. Should be a good match tomorrow night. Anybody advocating for Roman Reigns to lose the championship, you're a fucking moron. There is no way, no how, no sir, Roman Reigns should be losing. It should be a good match, but they have been pushing the fact that Roman Reigns has not beaten Seth Rollins in a championship match way too hard for it not to mean that Roman Reigns is winning. Roman Reigns is winning, plain and simple. And I want to hear nothing more about it. Now, let's talk about the Royal Rumble and my predictions as that show is going on. I got the wrong phone for this. Okay. So, we're going to start off with, What am I going to start off with? Okay. Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maurice. The It couple versus the Grit couple. I really don't care about this match. I really want this to be this is it. Beth and Edge win, and we move on to something else. AJ Styles would be a good opponent for Edge. Maybe Beth could do something in the tag team division again, because there is no tag team division. How about having the women's championships in a fatal 4-way again if you can find 8 women? Or 8 women. Becky Lynch versus Piper Niven. I will never call her that derogatory name, plain and simple. Becky Lynch wins. I see no reason. If they were going to have anybody beat Becky Lynch before WrestleMania, it was going to be Liv Morgan. They should have had Liv beat her the first time. Becky comes back and loses the second time by fuckery or something, like her arms under the rope. Basically, that's what they could have did. Liv wins the first one. Liv wins the second one, but it's because Becky had her arm under the rope and the referee missed it. And then they come to the Royal Rumble. You get Liv versus Becky 3, and Liv Morgan loses the WWE Raw Women's Championship back to her. Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, WWE Championship match. This one is definitely a toss-up for sure. They could go 2 routes on this. If they wanted Bobby Lashley to not win the championship, they didn't want to have Bobby Lashley win the championship from Brock Lesnar by beating Brock Lesnar. You have Brock Lesnar retain and have someone else win the Royal Rumble. But with the fact that who I think is going to win the Royal Rumble, I'm going with Bobby Lashley. If they wanted to go a different route, you could have Brock Lesnar win tomorrow night, and then have Brock Lesnar get beat up by everybody in the Elimination Chamber, and everyone helps beat Brock Lesnar and get him eliminated to have a new champion, and then have Bobby Lashley win the Elimination Chamber and be the new WWE Champion that way. But I think he's going to beat Brock Lesnar. This is like a match he's been wanting for a long time, and I think it's going to be a make-good for him, because they're going to have him versus somebody else at WrestleMania, which will be very, very bad. Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, WWE Universal title match. Jimmy and Jay are banned from ringside. I'm going with Roman Reigns. There is no one else who should be winning this. Period. That leaves the 2 Rumbles matches. The Women's Royal Rumble match, 30 women. So far, if we have this right, let me get the women that we have in the Royal Rumble. Rhea Ripley, Nikki Trash, Dana Brooke, Carmella, Zelina Vega, Tamina, Shotzi, Natalya, Aaliyah, Naomi, Shayna, Baszler, Charlotte 9000, Nikki Bella, Brie Bella, Lita, Michelle McCool, Kelly, Summer Rae, Mickie James, the Impact Women's Champion, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, Sasha Banks, and Sonia Deville, and Naomi, which is not in here for some reason. Oh yeah, she is. Okay. Yeah. Out of those women, none of them are winning. If Ronda Rousey is in the Royal Rumble, she's winning the Royal Rumble. Plain and simple. Ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Sasha Banks is in, I'm pretty sure. Yes. Sasha Banks is in. I could see her being the Iron Woman. If Naomi and Sonya Deville start 1 and 2, Sasha Banks starts 3, and she goes all the way to the Final 4, just missing out because of Ronda Rousey. Honestly, this would be my Final 4 just to do it. Sonya Deville, Naomi, Sasha Banks, and Naomi. Those would be your Final 4. Naomi and Sonya start. They make it to the Final 4. But Naomi gets Sonya eliminated. Sasha eliminates Naomi. Sasha and Ronda Rousey have themselves a little 5-minute mini match. And then, of course, Ronda Rousey picks up the win. For the men's, Angelo Dawkins, Montez Ford, Rey Mysterio, Dominic Mysterio, Austin Theory, Johnny Knoxville, Sheamus, Damian Priest, AJ Styles, Big E, Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, Sami Zayn, Kofi Kingston, Kevin Owens, Omos, Randy Orton, Matt Riddle, Chad Gable, Otis, Dolph Ziggler, Robert Roode, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rick Boogs, and Ricochet. Nobody in this field is winning either. The only 2 people I can see winning this match who are not named Brock Lesnar are AJ Styles and Big E. AJ Styles I can see because it's AJ's fucking Styles. He should win a Royal Rumble before he retires. Big E, I can see them having him win the Royal Rumble as a make good for having to end his championship reign short because they gave it back to Brock Lesnar. Because you don't put Brock Lesnar in that fatal 5-way without having Brock Lesnar winning the championship. They could have promised Big E the Royal Rumble win if he put over Brock Lesnar. I doubt that, but that could happen. But again, I'm going with Brock Lesnar because Bobby Lashley is probably winning the WWE Championship. And that is your predictions. Brock Lesnar for the men. Women's is Ronda Rousey. Bobby Lashley over Brock Lesnar. Becky over Piper Niven. Beth, the Grit couple over the It couple. And Seth and Roman Reigns over Seth Rollins. Hope you guys are ready for the Royal Rumble tomorrow. Hit that subscribe button. Comment down below. Like or dislike this video. Find me on Minds at the France Club. Find me on twitch.tv/The France Club. And find me on Instagram at The France Club. And I will see you guys tomorrow night for the Royal Rumble. Until then, my name is The France, and I'll see you guys later.